So this is my now nearly 3-year-old Canyon Nerf, then turned into the Neuron of course. I've done about 10,000 kilometers on it, doing anything from XC racing to bike park days. And lately, with all the bike testing that I've been doing, this has become a loaner bike that I give to friends whenever I can finally convince them to go on a ride with me. However, last week a friend drove it straight into what I think is the only puddle in all of Belgium at the moment, and so it is now disgustingly dirty. Which is a great coincidence because Peatys, or the distributor for Peatys in Belgium, Ferrijn, they actually asked if I wanted to try out Peatys products. So hey, I decided it was a win-win for everyone. So let's try out Peatys products. So as you can see, I have the entire range right here. So the XXX Solvent Degreaser. We have the disc brake cleaner, which claims to also improve braking performance, or at least restore it to factory, which is interesting to say the least. We have Loam Foam, the foaming Drivetrain degreaser, and also the link lube to lube everything back up once we're done really cleaning it. The bottles come with these handy little spray thingies. They're not the most ergonomic though. And I also have a tubeless conversion kit because I really wanted to try out their sealant as well, because I did read some bad things about it and apparently it was a bad batch, but we'll do a long-term test to see if that's actually the case. So as you can see, the bike is absolutely disgusting. I think it's mostly cow dung that's everywhere, so it'll be interesting to see how we get that off. As with any bike cleaning job, the first step, to me at least, is getting it soaking wet. There's no point in spraying any sort of solvents or degreasers on a dry bike because it just doesn't work like that. And actually just soaking it visually makes it a little bit cleaner. However, if we were to just let it dry right now, it would still be about as dirty as it was before. So I'm going to start with the Loam Foam, and the spray gun on there comes with two settings. There's a spray mist sort of setting, also a foam setting. And the foam setting is intended to be used where you really want it to work in for a while, whereas the spray will kind of run off quickly. The foam is a lot more solid and it'll stay on the dirty bit for a bit longer. As I said, the handle isn't quite as ergonomic as I would really like it to be, but it's still really good, and the bottle and spray gun are of course reusable, which is always nice. So I gave the foam a few minutes to really get in there and do its job before using actually the competition's microfiber cleaning cloth to really wipe down the bike, because no matter how good your foam is, if you're not going to wipe the really harsh dirt off of there, it's never going to be really clean. So maybe Peatys should also make one of these microfiber washing mitts, because they're really awesome. So after a quick scrub, I just rinsed off the bike, and here it is. It's pretty clean, but we still have some work to do on the drivetrain. Now, the Loam Foam is pretty good, but I wouldn't necessarily consider spending more money than just on dishwashing liquid, which also does the trick perfectly fine for cleaning your frame and your wheels and stuff. However, this foaming Drivetrain degreaser I really like. The foam is so dense and just so solid, it really stays on there for a long time. You can leave it on for literally minutes and it will still be a foam, and it will really dissolve all the oily bits, and especially the dirt in that oil. Now that said, again, just the foam alone is not going to be enough to really clean off all the dirt from those links and the little cogs and all the nooks and crannies in there. So I did rub it down with a little stiff brush as well. After a rinse, I noticed the drivetrain was definitely a lot cleaner than before, but it's still not perfect, so this is where the XXX Drivetrain Degreaser comes in. So just like a lot of you guys probably, I usually do this part of the drivetrain cleaning process with automotive brake cleaner, and to be honest, the effect is very similar. It's just as effective. I can't really say it's more or less effective or any better or worse for your components than just using normal brake cleaner. So it gets a pass, it works, it's very good, but I don't necessarily know, again, if it's worth getting the Peatys brand over some generic automotive brake cleaner. So after this step, again, rinsing everything, getting all that degreaser out so we can lube it up again later on. But before we do that, we want to test those ridiculous claims, I think, of improving braking performance with Peatys brake cleaner. So I just used a rag, a clean one that just came out of the washing machine, by the way, to just rub on the brake rotors and later on the brake pad. Now I guess you could just take the brake pads out, but this technique also works for me, and everything was nice and clean, couldn't really see any dirt or contamination on there afterwards. So it really does the job. However, once again, I think you could achieve a very similar result with basic automotive brake cleaner. I mean, that stuff is designed to be used with automotive brakes. So now with everything clean and degreased, it's finally time to get lube back on our chain. Very important with these bottles is you have to really shake them very well because it's a two-component lube. So effectively the lubricating bit and the part that actually makes the oil thin enough to get in between those links is separate. So you really have to shake it, then it mixes, then you can apply it, and then it will dry off later on. Now, I did go for a quick but really dusty ride, and I have to say it doesn't really attract a lot of oil, so the chain oil definitely pretty good. And so as you can see, the bike is now what I would consider to be very clean, probably as clean as it's been in years, and it just works. All the products do what they are supposed to do, although improving brake performance is a bit of a weird one. I didn't really have any squealing before or after, so to me it was really just a null operation. And so after all that cleaning and re-lubing, I have to say the bike looks about as clean as I can get it with the amount of damage this frame has. Everything just works as advertised, to be honest. It's not incredibly mind-blowingly better than anything else on the market, but it does work. Now, something that does have a bit of a bad history is Peatys sealant, because it would gunk up, or at least some of the horror videos about it that I saw, the sealant would really gunk up into these massive rubber blocks. So I really wanted to try this out for myself. Now, this will be a long-term test, and I'll get back to you guys in about 6 months maybe to see if it's dried out completely or if it's actually still working as a tubeless sealant. That said, I do have this tubeless kit, and it's amazing. So first of all, you do get some really nice stickers to put over your rims and over your valves and stuff. The rim tape I got is the 35mm wide one, which I was going to use on my enduro bike, but I changed my mind. I decided to just use Stan's rim tape on that old Canyon Nerf. But the main thing I really want to talk about with this kit is the valves. The valves are amazing. They just feel really good. They're incredibly well made. And it's just little things, like the little lock ring has 2 flat sides, so you can actually tighten it down very tightly so your valves don't rattle out, which is amazing. The valve cap has a little valve removal tool built into it. It's just tiny stuff like that, which in my opinion really makes a difference. And even if these valves separately are maybe twice the price than what some competing valves would offer, I think it's definitely worth it. They flow really well, and overall I was just really impressed with the valves. Pretty nerdy to talk about valves alone though, so let's also talk about Peatys sealant. Now, Peatys sealant apparently is a lot more environmentally friendly than the generic stuff, which has a lot of small plastic bits in there. Peatys sealant is based on eucalyptus stuff, so it is biodegradable. Always nice to take care of the environment. And then there's also some really fancy glitter in there so that it doesn't just become Peatys white stuff, which would be a horrible name. Now, I have been running these Swallow rocket runs for actually years now, and I've always had Stan's sealant in the rear and Continental sealant in the front for some reason that I still don't really know why I did it like that. So I decided to only swap out the rear wheel with Peatys sealant, so I can still compare it to the Continental sealant and see if it gunks up faster or slower than competing sealants. Again, this will be a long-term test, so come back to the channel maybe 6 months from now and I'll have an update on whether or not the tires are still inflated. Installing this kit went really well. Now obviously the tire and the rim have already been used in a tubeless combination, but again I just wanted to mention how much I like the valves. I probably end up buying a lot of these valves to put on all my other bikes because they just work really well and they seem incredibly well made, to the point where if you break them, they'll replace it, no questions asked, for the lifetime of the valve, so that's pretty cool. Alright then, so for a quick recap of this video, first of all, the foaming drivetrain degreaser and the link loop I really like, just like the tubeless conversion kit. However, the other products you could replace with more generic offerings from your average brand really. That said though, my bike is now really clean, really nice and shiny where it should be, still matte where it also should be, and everything is just very clean. So that's definitely, worth buying if you want to support that brand instead of Muck-Off or any of the other 100 different brands that offer very similar products. Anyway, I am now test riding the Trek Top Fuel, the brand new model. This is also the 9.9, so the second most expensive model. So if you have any questions about this bike that you want to see answered in the full review of it, let me know in the comments below. But for now, thank you very much for watching. And I'm gonna go ride the Trek Top Fuel now, so see ya!